Hi guys, welcome to the channel of love and the journey of ascension. We are reading Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude by Napoleon Hill and W. Clement Stone. We shall pick up from where we left off midway through chapter 4. Of course, every individual responds to unconscious autosuggestion throughout his life more often than he does to conscious autosuggestion. In such instances, he responds to habit and the inner urge of the subconscious. When a man with PMA is faced with a serious personal problem, self-motivators flash from the subconscious to the conscious to aid him. This is especially true in times of emergency, especially when death's door is about to be opened. Such was the case with Ralph Wepner of Toowoomba, Queensland, Australia, one of our PMA Science of Success course students. It was 1:30 in the morning. In a small hospital bedroom, two nursing sisters were keeping vigil beside Ralph's body. At 4:30, the afternoon before, an emergency call had been made to his family to rush to the hospital. When they arrived at his bedside, Ralph was in a state of coma as a result of a severe heart attack. The family was now out in the corridor, each one worrying or praying in his own special way. In the dimly lit bedroom, two nursing sisters worked anxiously, one on each wrist, trying to feel a pulse beat. Because Ralph had not come out of the coma during this entire 6-hour period, and the doctor had done all that he felt he could, the doctor had left the room. He had gone to visit one of his other hospital patients who was also in a critical condition. Ralph couldn't move, talk, or feel anything, yet he could hear the voices of the sisters. He could think quite clearly during portions of this period. He heard one sister excitedly state, "He's not breathing. Can you pick up a beat?" The answer was no. Again and again he heard the question and answer, "Can you now pick up a beat?" No. "I'm all right," he thought, "but I must tell them. Somehow I must tell them." At the same time, he was amused at the sisters for being fooled like that. He kept thinking, "I'm quite all right. I'm not going to die. But how? How can I tell them?" And then he remembered the self-motivator he had learned. You can do it if you believe you can. He tried to open his eyes, but it seemed the more he tried, the more he failed. His eyelids wouldn't respond to the command of his will. He tried to move his arm, his leg, his head, but he couldn't feel any reaction at all. In fact, he didn't feel a thing. Again and again, he tried to open his eyes, until at last he heard the words, "I saw one eyelid flicker. He's still there." "I felt no fear," Ralph says, and still thought how amusing it was. Periodically, one sister called to me, "Are you there, Mr. Wepner? Are you there?" To which I would try to respond by moving my eyelids to tell them that I was all right, I was still there. This went on for a considerable time until through constant effort Ralph was at last able to open one, then both eyes. It was then that his doctor returned. With wonderful skill and persistence, the doctor and nurses brought him back to life. Hidden persuaders. But it was the auto-suggestion, you can do it if you believe you can, that he had memorised from the PMA Science of Success course that helped to rescue him when he was at death's door. Now, the books we read and the thoughts we think affect our subconscious minds, but there are also unseen forces that likewise have powerful effects, even though they are subliminal, below the realm of consciousness. These unseen forces can be from known physical causes or from unknown sources. Before discussing the unknown, let's illustrate with an example that is now common knowledge since the publishing of Hidden Persuaders by Vance Packard. The story first appeared in American newspapers and later was picked up in magazines. Let's consider a report that appeared in a leading national magazine on the subject of subliminal advertising. The report tells of an experiment conducted in a New Jersey movie theatre in which advertising messages were flashed on the screen so fast that the viewers were not consciously aware of them. During a period of 6 weeks, more than 40,000 persons unknowingly became subjects of this test while attending the theatre. Flashed on the screen by a special process that made them invisible to the naked eye were 2 advertising messages concerning products that were available in the theatre lobby. At the end of the 6 weeks, results were tabulated. Sales of one of the products had soared over 50%, while sales of the other product rose almost 20%. The inventor of the process explained that although the messages were invisible, they still had taken effect on many in the audience because of the ability of the subconscious mind to absorb impressions that are too fleeting to be registered consciously. When this story appeared in the press, the public was horrified by this attempt to channel our thinking habits, our purchasing decisions, and our thought processes by the use of subliminal suggestion. People were afraid. They feared brainwashing in its most subtle form, yet it is amazing to us that someone didn't take the PMA approach. Subliminal suggestion can be employed for desirable objectives too. Everyone knows that power can be used for evil or for good, depending upon how it is directed. Now that the experiment has proved its purpose, it doesn't take much imagination to see what the beneficial results to the viewers would be should the following self-motivators be flashed on a movie screen. God is always a good God. Day by day, in every way, through the grace of God, you are getting better and better. Have the courage to face the truth. What the mind of man can conceive and believe, the mind of man can achieve with PMA. Every adversity has the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit for those who have positive mental attitude. You can do it if you believe you can. This would be a PMA approach, provided, of course, the consent of the audience was obtained in advance. Another illustration of a known physical force affecting the subconscious mind can be shown by the effect of radar on navigators. Why did the SS Andrea Doria and the SS Valcom sink? When the Andrea Doria, captained by Pere Kalame, and the Stockholm, under Captain H.O. Norderson, collided approximately 50 miles off Nantucket Island, 50 persons died. The Andrea Doria was sighted by the radar operator of the Stockholm when they were 10 miles apart. The Grace Line luxury liner, the Santa Rosa, under Captain Frank S. Sywick, collided with the tanker Valcom on March 26, 1959, 0 miles off the North Jersey coast. 4 crewmen were killed. Second mate Walter Wells, the radar operator on the Santa Rosa, claimed he had made 2 plottings of the tanker Valcom's course. No satisfactory explanation of the true cause of these collisions has resulted from the investigations in either of these instances. Could the waves from the radar instruments have been the real cause? Perhaps Sidney A. Scheidner has the answer. As a young teenager, Sidney A. Scheidner of Skokie, Illinois, became interested in hypnotism when he observed his older brother, a university student, successfully place his first subject under hypnosis. Sidney became an expert hypnotist. During his business career, he became a radio operator and an engineer in electronics. In the Second World War, Sidney Scheidner was a vital part of the system known as IFF, Information, Friend or Foe. His job was to see to it that every ship leaving our country was equipped with radar. He noticed that radar operators sometimes went into a trance. They weren't aware that they had been in a trance when they came out of it. Because of his knowledge of hypnosis and electronics, Schneider concluded that the fixed attention of the naval employees took place when the waves from the radar machine were synchronized with the brain waves of the operator. On this theory, he changed the waves of the radar instrument and eliminated the reoccurrence of the trances. Sidney Scheidner told us that he converted his conclusions regarding the principle that placed the seaman operating radar in a trance into the brain wave synchronizer, a machine which he invented after the war. What is the brain wave synchronizer? It is an electronic instrument designed to induce various levels of hypnosis by subliminal and photic light stimulation of the brainwaves. The instrument can be used alone or combined with a tape recording of the therapist verbal suggestions. No physical connections or attachments are placed on the patients. Results are obtained at any distance in which the light in the machine is visible. The apparatus induces light to deep hypnotic levels in over 90% of the subjects in an average time of 3 minutes. In an experiment with the brain wave synchronizer, none of the persons involved was informed about the machine or what it could do. Neither were they told that they were subjects of an experiment. Yet 30% of them were hypnotized to various degrees, ranging from light to deep states. Why and how does the brainwave synchronizer work? We asked. It is like a television transmitter, Schneider said. The human brain produces pulses, waves of electricity in several frequency ranges. This knowledge has been applied in the field of medicine since 1929, and the invention of the electroencephalograph, commonly known as the EEG machine, an apparatus for recording brainwaves. My machine operates much like a television system, Schneider continued. The reason the picture on your receiving set does not drift up or down is that the pulses generated within the set synchronize with corresponding pulses generated by the transmitting television station. The receiver is forced to operate at a rate controlled by the transmitter, and the picture must obey. Like the transmitter of a television station, the brainwave synchronizer also produces synchronizing pulses, and through photic stimulation, the waves sent from the synchronizer cause the frequency of the brainwaves also to lock in step. At this point, hypnosis can be achieved. Just compare your brain to a receiving set and the brainwave synchronizer to a television transmitter. And you will see as you continue to read that in addition to comparing your brain to a receiving set, you can compare it to a television transmitter also. A little knowledge becomes a dangerous thing. We have just explored some of the unseen forces from known physical causes. Now let's proceed further into the realm of the unknown, the thrilling field of psychic phenomena such as ESP, extrasensory perception, awareness of or response to an external event or influence not apprehended by sensory means. Here are included telepathy, thought transference. A. Telepathy, thought transference. B. Clairvoyance, the power of discerning objects not present to the senses. C. Precognition, seeing into the future. D. Postcognition, seeing into the past. 2. Psychokinesis, the effect of the mind on an object. Now let's be realistic and keep our feet firmly on the ground. Let's explore the unknown with common sense. You'll be in danger unless you use good logic and avoid the gathering of cobwebs in your thinking. Facts should be your stepping stones over the river of doubt. Therefore, let an experienced guide direct you along safe paths. And we will introduce you to such a guide. But before we do, let's talk about the past. Thomas J. Hudson's famous book, The Law of Psychic Phenomena, when published in 1893, became a bestseller. The book is published today in paperback by Kessinger Publishing, Whitefish, Montana. It contains many thrilling stories of reported psychic experiences. The imaginations of tens of thousands of people who read this book were stimulated. Some were ready, some were not. From then on, public interest in psychic phenomena made rapid progress. But many persons, not properly prepared, injured themselves by becoming crackpots. This was due to the awesomeness and magnetic interest a little knowledge of psychic powers generated within them. There is a noticeable tendency of some persons who are not properly educated and mature in their thinking and not very well adjusted emotionally to become fascinated with this intriguing study. It is easy to understand why so many religious leaders, scientists, and persons responsible for the welfare of the people found the study of psychic phenomena an anathema. 1. Imaginations ran rampant and threatened the sanity of the people. 2. Fact and fiction seemed to be indistinguishable. 3. Hypnosis by amateurs and vaudeville entertainers, as well as the trickery and frauds practiced by fakars, mediums and charlatans, abused the minds of the public. 4. Basic religious principles were twisted in a direction that led to evil. Anything associated with psychic phenomena became repellent, it was taboo. In spite of the dangers, taboos, and social or professional ostracism, there were courageous, honourable men with good common sense who had the courage to explore for the truth. But it remained for the long, courageous fight of Dr. Joseph Banks. Rhine, formerly of Duke University, inspired and assisted by his wife, Dr. Louisa E. Rhine, to clothe the study of psychic phenomena with respectability. This is due to the impeccable character of Dr. Rhine and to his 30 years of controlled laboratory experiments based on mathematical laws. His task was a difficult one because spontaneous psychic phenomena was not apt to occur in a laboratory. Such phenomena occur when least expected, and most often when a person is under the greatest emotional strain or possessed of an intensified emotional, obsessional desire, often simultaneously with the death of a loved one. Westinghouse invests in ESP communication. It is apparent that any writer on the subject of psychic phenomena today endeavours to have the protection of a part of the cloak of Dr. Rhine's respectability by referring to Dr. Rhine and Duke University to make his own theories digestible. We are no exception, we urgently suggest that if you are interested further, you read The Reach of the Mind and the other books of which Dr. Rhine is the author or co-author. Our recommendation: let Dr. Joseph Banks Rhine be your guide. And how successful has Dr. Rhine's work been in breaking down the resistance to investigation and belief in these strange mind powers? A fair test, it would seem to us, lies in the fact that hard-headed businessmen are convinced and are making experiments of their own. In an interview, Dr. Peter A. Castruccio, director of the Westinghouse Astronautics Institute, confirms that Westinghouse scientists are engaged in research to find a means of using telepathy and clairvoyance for long-distance communication. Dr. Castruccio, too, had many lengthy visits with Dr. Rhine before a decision was reached to engage in this great experiment. And will the search for ways and means to harness telepathy and clairvoyance and make them commercially feasible be successful? Let us answer this as follows. Not too long ago, people were scoffing at ideas that were unbelievable to them then, but are taken for granted today. A. Matter being turned into energy and energy into matter. B. The breaking of the atom. C. Man-made satellites. D. Jet power. Or E. Everyday necessities like television, for example. And what about the electronic computer that was designed from the human computer, the human brain, and the nervous system? Everyone was conceived, believed, and achieved by men with PMA, machines that operate with the speed of light, 186,300 miles per second. Machines that can calculate 40,000 arithmetic operations per second and detect and correct their own errors. Machines that became a reality because man built into them electrical circuits which in many respects function like the known electrical activity of the nervous system of your own physical body. Our answer? What the mind of man can conceive and believe, the mind of man can achieve with PMA. But no machine or man-made invention is as marvellous as the wonderful human computer you own, your brain and your nervous system, with their power of electrical activity. Man is more than a body with a brain. You are a mind with a body, a mind, a mind, possessing, and also affected by powers known and unknown. A mind composed of two parts, the conscious and the subconscious. Here we have stressed most the concept of the subconscious mind, its powers and the forces known and unknown that affect it. But what about the conscious mind? This is equally important, and you will read about it in the next chapter entitled "And Something More." Now, if your reaction to what you have read has not given you an insight on how you can turn the right knob or push the right button to get what you want from the machine you own, Dare to explore the powers of your mind. Be guided by pilot number 4 and something more. Pilot number 4. Thoughts to steer by. Number 1. You are a mind with a body. Your body is an electrical machine. Your brain is a mechanism that is an electrical marvel. Number 2. Your mind has 2 parts, the conscious and the subconscious. They work together. Number 3. Conscious autosuggestion and self-suggestion are synonymous and are contrasted with the word autosuggestion, an unconscious activity. Autosuggestion automatically sends messages from the subconscious to the conscious mind, as well as to parts of the body. The subconscious mind is the seat of habit, memory, inviolable standards of conduct, etc. Number 4. Day by day, in every respect, I am getting better and better. Self-affirmations repeated with frequency, rapidity, and emotion affect the subconscious mind and cause it to react. Bill McCall acquired wealth through the use of self-suggestion. Number 5. Curie's great discovery was you can use helpful, positive suggestions to help yourself, and you can also refrain from negative, harmful suggestions. Number 6. Learn to use the proper suggestion in influencing others. Learn to employ the right conscious auto-suggestions, and when you do, you can have physical, mental and moral health, happiness and success. Number 7. You can do it if you have PMA and you believe you can. Number 8. Hidden persuaders. Take the PMA approach. Number 9. Your brain sends out energy in the form of brain waves, and this energy is power which can affect another person or an object. Number 10. A little knowledge may be a dangerous thing. Dare to explore the powers of your mind. When you enter the dangerous, unexplored territory of psychic phenomena, let Dr. Joseph Banks Rhine be your guide. Day by day, in every way, through the grace of God, I am getting better and better through PMA. That is the end of chapter 2. I will talk to you guys soon with chapter 5. Until then, take care. Much love. Bye for now.